Welcome to Panda's empowering platform. And on today's episode, I will be giving some tips to South African travelers who would like to travel internationally. The reason that I have chosen this topic for my first vlog is because I'm inundated with questions from South Africans who want to travel but have various and valid concerns. In this vlog, I'm going to be talking about 3 main areas of concern that you need to pay attention to as a South African traveler. So the first area that I'm going to talk about is cost, because South Africans love cheap things. It's probably the most requested thing I get asked. Cheap destinations, cheap places, cheap things to do. The first thing that I don't do when booking a holiday is I do not use a travel agent, which is a huge saving for me. I've never found travel agents to get me better deals than I could get myself. So there are no magical times for you to start looking to book your holiday. Whenever you know your leave dates or your kids' school holidays or your own holidays, that's when you should start looking. And I recommend setting up travel alerts. So what a travel alert basically is when you choose your flight comparison site of preference. I personally use momondo.com. I've been using it since I started traveling independently in 2011, and I find it really reasonable and really accurate. You could use Travel Start, you can use Google Flights, Skyscanner. There's quite a few out there depending on your preference and your region, your currency. And I look for my flights. Once I put in my destination of choice and where I want to fly from, I just hit set up travel alerts, and then I will get an email every time the price fluctuates. So if the price goes down or the price goes up, I will get a notification in my email inbox, and that's how I'll choose what is the best time for me to book. For example, I recently went to Azerbaijan and I started looking for flights in November. I set up my travel alerts and I was getting emails all through December telling me now's a good time to book, or price has gone up, so wait a bit. So personally, I really found this to be a money-saving tip. So South Africans, you do not need to stay in 5-star hotels every time you go somewhere. Although it would be nice in a perfect world, it's not always financially feasible. So let's talk about some ways you can save costs when you are looking for accommodation. What I personally use and recommend is Booking.com. Booking.com is basically an accommodation search provider, and if you put in your destination, it'll bring up all the accommodation that's available, and from there you can filter. So family friendly places, breakfast included places, hotels only, etc. I've been using it for such a long time to book my trips, and I write reviews and I keep using it, and I also book trips for my friends and family through my account, and that's giving me huge discounts. So the more you book, the more you save. Booking.com also has this referral system where if I share my link with you, I get $15 off and you get $10 off, and this can make a huge saving, especially if you're staying in a place that's not that expensive. The other site that I like to use for accommodation is Airbnb. I really recommend this when you're traveling in Europe. In fact, I've never stayed in a hotel in Europe. I just find it outrageously expensive. I prefer to stay in Airbnb. I've never had a problem, and the properties have always had fantastic reviews. Just remember, the host reviews you just as you reviewed their property. So if you're not a good tenant, you're not going to get a good review, and people won't want you to stay in their property for the next time. Another thing is that a lot of people like to include breakfast when they're booking their accommodation, and it might work for you, it might not work for you. You might like to go out and explore for breakfast, but it can be a way of managing your money, so you know, okay, I've already allocated X amount for the first meal of the day, so now I only have to spend money on lunch and dinner. Another way to save costs is to go beyond the obvious. And while it's really comfortable and luxurious to fly with airlines like British Airways or Qatar Airways or Emirates, you should also look at smaller airlines to save costs. So for example, Rwanda Air or Ethiopian Airlines can actually be huge money savers. My brother flew out to me in Dubai with Ethiopian Airlines from Durban, and he only flew for about 5,000 Rand, which is saying something because I usually pay 11,500 Rand when I fly with Emirates. So look at these airlines, look at what they're offering you, and you might actually find really good deals through them. Speaking about flights, let's talk about layovers. And if you want those cheap flights, you have to deal with layovers. But you can make layovers work for you. So if I were you, I would choose a destination that I want to explore that is visa free or I can easily get a visa for. And then I would pick a layover that's 10 or more hours, and I would spend a day in that place. Great layover options would be, for example, Singapore or Turkey or Malaysia. I personally spent a day in Cairo last year when I was flying to Kenya, and I was able to see the Great Pyramids of Giza on a layover. I've also seen the Eiffel Tower on a layover, so you can make it work for you if you book your own flights and are flexible with your timings. So I know that visas are a huge problem for people traveling with a South African passport, and believe me, I get it. It's enough to demotivate people from going on holiday. But I also noticed that South Africans are actually not traveling to places where we don't need a visa, and seem to be traveling to places where you need 2 pounds of flesh and 3 liters of blood in order to get a visa. So let's stop doing that and let's start looking at places where we are welcome. So places that are visa free would include most of Southeast Asia and most of South America. Of course, these are very reasonably priced destinations too. I personally look at places that are visa free first. If I don't want to travel anywhere there, I look at places that offer visa on arrival, or then I go look at places which offer e-visas. E-visas are really good because you already have the visa in your hand, so you just show it at passport control and sail through, and no airline can deny you boarding because you have that approved visa in your hand. I highly recommend e-visas for Turkey and India because they're free, and who doesn't like free things? So those are great places to explore without breaking your bank paying for a visa. The third area that I want to talk about is traveling within Africa, and I truly feel that South Africans are not making the most of their geographical location. Instead, they seem to be traveling to places that are further away and more expensive. So I personally love to travel from South Africa to the SADC region, which basically includes countries like Tanzania, which has the beautiful Zanzibar, or Zambia, which has the stunning Victoria Falls, Botswana, which has the amazing Okavango Delta, and I could go on, but you'll do your own research about your preferred destinations. The best thing about these places is that I've basically walked in through the citizens line because you don't need a visa and you're kind of considered local, so it's really cool. I also do believe, and I say this from my own personal experience, Africa offers unparalleled adventures, landscapes, views, and experiences. The things that you can experience in Africa are not things you can experience in other places. Believe me, I have tried to look for them. And do not forget that you can also travel to Swaziland and Lesotho, which are pretty easy trips from South Africa. Swaziland is a 6-hour drive from Durban, so you could easily spend a weekend away there. And Lesotho, of course, includes a thrilling drive up the Sani Pass, and I really think it's worth seeing. It's a good way to sort of dip your feet into the world of traveling. If you are wondering why I decided to make this particular video and why I chose this topic, well, other than Expat Panda bulldozing me into it, It's because there are so many benefits to traveling abroad beyond just getting pretty pictures or eating delicious food or looking at beautiful landscapes. The first benefit for me is that it really makes you appreciate your country. So now that I'm away from South Africa, I can appreciate our beautiful landscapes, our fantastic road signage and infrastructure, and just the friendliness and diversity of our people. Being away really makes you love your home even more. The other thing that I've really gained from traveling abroad is my interactions with the locals and other travelers that I meet when I travel. Because let's be honest, if you live in South Africa, it's highly unlikely that you're getting a chance to converse with people from different countries. So this is how I learned a lot about other political systems, other religions, other cuisines, just from talking to people in the countries that I visited or other travelers whom I met while I was traveling. The last thing I would want to say is that for me, when I'm traveling, I never meet other South Africans traveling. And when I meet other people and tell them I'm South African, they're really surprised and they say, wow, you're the first South African we've ever met. Or they seem really shocked that I'm not white or I'm not Afrikaans, because clearly these are the only kinds of people that are traveling. And while I think that's great, I think that it's important for us as people of color to be going out and showing the world that, you know what, we exist and we also want to explore the world and we also want to learn about the world. And yeah, we're South African too. I really believe that if a few of us start showing up at places, this will pave the way for future people of color to travel from South Africa as well. Before I say peace out, pandas, I just would like to say that I'd love to hear your comments on this subject. If you have any other advice or tips to share, please leave them below in a comment where I'd love to read and interact with you. And if you like this video, please do like and share with your friends and family. Peace out, pandas!